And we're back with the program once again. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here. You know what? It's a great time for pop culture. There's Game of Thrones winding down its season. There's Avengers Endgame exploding all over the place this weekend. And there's a whole bunch of podcasts and related things out there as far as in the podcast world, along with great podcasts like ours, of course, that you need to go ahead and check out and listen to. And what better app for you to listen to all these great programs than the Bullhorn app that we've got right here. And what do you know? The Pop Culture Cosmos comes out for me right up there on the Bullhorn app. And you know what? With the Bullhorn app, there's a lot of great things going on with it. And here to explain what's going on with that Bullhorn app is the man himself behind Bullhorn. He is just someone I had a chance to speak to at NAB 2019 and just had a great time. And I invited him here on the show. It is Sam Petralia. Sam, just great to have you on the show.
Hey, Gerald. Thanks for having me. Great intro, too. I really appreciate that.
I try to make it as nice and as warm and as ingratiating as possible, but I know I apologize to everyone out there if it comes off a little cheesy from time to time, but you know, it's a great app. I wanted to go ahead and get that over to everybody out there, how much I enjoyed it. I signed up for it, last year. I also have been extensively using the app now, and I love the little reminders it gives me. As I told you at NAB, it's not obtrusive. It's very nice and organized and streamlined. It gets you where you need to go and what you want to listen to, correct?
Correct. So yeah, we're trying to, in the kind of like an age of like every app being super complex, we're trying to keep it pretty simple. And our goal is trying to be as inclusive as possible. So a lot of apps now are offering, hey, you got to do a premium subscription service, or to upgrade to get away from the ads, you have to do that and that. That's not our goal right now. Our goal is to give the user the best possible experience. And then when you came up to me at NAB and you said, hey, your app was like, I really like using it. It shows up well for my show and stuff like that. That just made my day. We're still pretty in, like, I wouldn't say infant, but we're still in the kind of, the launch phase. We're about like 95% baked, but we're working, and it's great, and we're getting more and more users every day. So it's a very, very exciting time for us.
It is when you use the Bullhorn app. I tell you what, like I said, it's not overly out there. It doesn't just like explode all over your phone when there's a new program coming up that you've actually assigned yourself with or subscribed to. It's right there for you and discreetly tells you right there in a nice, convenient, neat little package, hey, the latest episode of your favorite show has popped up. Got to listen to it whenever you can because it's right there for you. When you go through the interface, it's really easy to use. And I also wanted to mention that if you go ahead and look at the homepage, there's some free audiobooks there as well to listen to.
Yeah, you're right. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to aggregate as much free audio content there is out there. The audiobooks that are on Bullhorn are actually like the free books that are available to the public. So they're kind of like the classics. They're like Shakespeare, The Art of War, like Moby Dick. So they're kind of classics that most people, haven't really got the chance to read, but they're free and available to the public. So we found a few kind of links and threw them up on the Bullhorn, and now we're kind of, educating people along with podcasts and free audiobooks. It's pretty cool.
Absolutely. And what is the type of feedback that you got from other podcasters such as myself?
So one of the main features, or one of the main differentiators of Bullhorn, is our data-free option. So right now, in the podcast space, there's really two ways to listen to podcasts. One, you can download when you're at home, when you're connected to Wi-Fi, or you can download using data. And then the second way is just streaming. So you just press that play button and you stream and you listen. Both these options use data. What we're coming into the space, and we're introducing a new way to listen. And every time you press the play button on the Bullhorn app, let's say I want to listen to this episode right now. When I press that play button, I'm giving a third option. And that third option is to actually dial a phone number to listen to the podcast. So it's just like you're on the phone number, it's like you're on the phone call and you're using your unlimited minutes plan instead of your data plan. So you're saving a little bit of money.
Oh, that's awesome indeed. Yeah. And once again, it's Sam Petralia of Bullhorn.fm. You got to check out his amazing app, either by PC, but also, of course, everybody's on a mobile phone. So you got to go ahead and download the app immediately. when you go ahead and go to the App Store, either Android, Google Play, or obviously the iPhone App Store as well. My friend, I'll tell you what, it's just been great talking to you about Bullhorn, but I've said a lot of great things about it, but you've got to convince everybody out there why they need to go ahead and switch from the bulkier, harder to use interfaces of some of the other guys that are out there. Why do they need to go ahead and switch to Bullhorn? Because, like you said already, it saves them. It could potentially save them a lot of money, but also has a lot of other great benefits as well.
Right. Yeah. So I'll keep it short for your listeners. It's really the three main points that I like to say is, one, we're completely free. There's no premium version and there's no in-app ads. We're trying to give you the best experience. Number two, it's beautifully designed and it's chock full of all the features you would expect a podcast app to have. I'm super proud of my design team. I'm super proud of my development team. The app we've really put together is really great. And then the third option is it allows you to listen to the podcast without using your data plan.
Was there any type of, inspiration that caused by this? Because, obviously there were a lot of podcast catchers out there, even when Bullhorn first came into the marketplace. But what was the motivation behind it?
So it's actually kind of an interesting story, and I would say I'm in a very lucky, fortunate, or blessed situation, whatever word you want to use. But I was a project manager of a product that my company was making. And then the guy I was working under, the product manager, quit unexpectedly one day. It was like a weird kind of set of circumstances. He didn't even give us 2 weeks, and we were kind of all just left in this kind of like limbo period. So I, as like the next kind of person in line, I kind of got all our ducks in order and said, hey, what if we pivoted this app? Because we're making an app, we're making a broadcasting app. What if we pivoted this app to use our phone network? Because our parent company owns the phone network that everyone calls in on. What if we used our phone network for podcasting? Podcasting is really hot. I think we can maybe hit a home run here. Let's try it. So from then on, we've kind of just been, we take an honest and we're trying to take like a funny approach to podcasting apps. We say around the office, we're not the Netflix of podcasting. Everyone wants to be the Netflix of podcasting. We don't want to be the Netflix of podcasting. We just want to give the users the best experience and give them a data-free option.
Come this time next year, come this time next year, you might be saying you want to be the Disney Plus of podcasting, but
yeah, Disney Plus. We'll have all the Mandalorian episodes and stuff like that.
Exactly, and all the different type of Avenger shows that are going to be out there, the numerous ones that have been added or rumored or talked about or underway in production. It's just so funny that this Marvel universe has been exploding as it is. But your app has just been a tremendous gift for us as far as podcast listeners. I listen to several podcasts a week outside of my own, and using Bullhorn, the interface has just made it so much easier for me. And like you said, it is just something that I think a lot of people would love to get into, especially if they have limited data plans, as a lot of different cell phone cell phone carriers out there are trying to go ahead and target on. Because it was funny, when data first started, everybody was throwing out unlimited data plans. But as it's gotten older and gotten to where, hey, look, everybody's calling less, but on their phone more for data, maybe want to go ahead and switch that around. And your company, Bullhorn, and your app is doing a service to others as far as heading into that direction.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. We see like on a daily average about 20% of our users decide to dial in to listen to the podcast, their preferred podcast, rather than stream. So it's cool. You give people an option to do something to save them money, and whether or not they want to do it or not. Like we don't try to force the data-free option on anyone. We just say, hey, you can call to listen, and people pick it up and people start using it. So it's pretty exciting.
It is pretty exciting indeed. And I'll tell you what, I am now a hooked user on Bullhorn. I know everybody out there, if they get a chance to use it, they'll be happy with it as well. I just appreciate as far as everything you're talking about when it comes to Bullhorn. And you know what? We cannot go without talking a little bit of pop culture, because it's pop culture cosmos, my friend.
Absolutely. That's what
I know. That's the thing I was surprised about, is when you got back to me and you said, you know what? I got to talk about Marvel. I got to talk about Game of Thrones. I got to talk about pop culture with you, Gerald. And it's like, okay, no problem with me. So you know what? it is Avengers Endgame. It's exploding all over. And at the time we recorded this, it's already hit over $100 million in China alone in a little over, let's say 24 hours, 24, 28 hours, whatnot.
Absolutely.
It is exploding all over. Watch out for the spoilers and watch out for the pirated videos out there. But your thoughts on Avengers Endgame, when are you going to see it? And what are you hoping for when you go see Avengers Endgame?
Okay. Yeah. So I had actually bought tickets with my roommates to see it on Friday, but I am a little bit concerned. I think I'm going to have to delete Instagram and Twitter for all of Thursday and Friday day because I know the spoilers are going to be hot. People are going to want to ruin the show, or excuse me, not ruin the show, ruin the movie for everyone. So I'm going to stay vigilant, stay away from the spoilers. I'm a big anti-spoiler guy. I can't stand spoilers. Like I don't even watch the episode preview of Game of Thrones because I want to know nothing. I want to be completely ignorant. I want to be completely caught off guard. But yeah, so I'll be seeing it Friday. Are you seeing it the day of?
No, unfortunately, due to a charity event that we're hosting at Pop Culture Cosmos, we're all seeing it on Friday, actually Friday morning. I promise I won't spoil it for you, because we'll probably get the jump on you on that. But when you sit down for Avengers Endgame, what are you hoping for as far as a climax? What will make you satisfied as a Marvel fan?
So obviously, like you want the good guys to win, but I'm really impressed with how this franchise has evolved, and it's like a very mature kind of franchise in like a mature universe. Like no superhero is essentially off guards or off limits, right? So I'm ready for some heartbreak, and I'm looking for some heartbreak. I had some suspicions of who will die and like stuff like that, a few little theories, but I'm looking for heartbreak. I'm looking for my heart to get ripped out. And I think this will almost like it'll be like a phoenix kind of a thing. I think a lot of like the heroes will die, but I think there will be a rebirth in this franchise, and so it'll be interesting to see where it goes going forward.
Now, you talked about that as far as being a gut wrencher for you when you go ahead and check it out, and that's what you're hoping for.
Mhm.
That obviously becomes that's obviously because you have such tremendous memories from the past of the 22 movies already in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So I want to hear your thoughts on a Marvel memory that touched you the deepest and how it will tie into Avengers Endgame.
Oh wow, that's a good question. Yeah, so I would say I just remember like the Iron Man movies. I remember being so into those. I think like I took one of my first dates with my girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, is we went to a drive-in movie theater and we saw Iron Man, and we were just like glued to the screen, and it was like a really cool experience because there's not too many drive-in movie theaters anymore, so we like had to like seek it out, and then seeing it there, and I don't know, I don't want to talk more on like the theories of like okay, basically I think Iron Man's gonna die. I don't know why, but I just feel like his time has come, and to see that kind of like eclipse and for that to end is just gonna be so sad for me because it's like someone that you like look up to because it was like a superhero. He wasn't perfect, right? But he like keeps trying to better himself every single like movie. He gets more kind of like noble, always trying to do what's right, and then just to see something like that end will just be heart wrenching.
And there are a lot of other people that like you that are big fans of Iron Man and seeing his evolution as an individual as much as a character. I mean, yes, the Mark suits have gotten up and up and up, and they've upped the ante, going from, how he had to construct it before to a nano suit shown in the Infinity War. But it's where he's gone as a person. I think what a lot of people have liked the most about Robert Downey Jr.'s evolvement of it and how he so brilliantly played the role time in and time out across that whole entire arc of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just cool because he's a super, like I would say Captain America. He's very kind of like almost too perfect in a way, while Iron Man is you can really like almost sympathize with him because he's not perfect and he's always trying harder, and it seems like he kind of fails in a way. So it's very like human superhero in that because he also doesn't have any superpowers.
And you remember in Captain America Civil War, he wanted to punch Captain America in his perfect teeth. So
yeah. There you go.
Yes. And what I want to ask you next about finally touching upon one of the big things with Avengers Endgame is this is hitting the hype train at its highest level for Marvel. And obviously there is going to be a come down for not only the MCU itself, but also for the audience that's watching it. Do you think it will ever hit this same hype and heights again as far as the enthusiasm, the inspiration, the storytelling narrative is all, it's all in tune into an all-time high? Do you think it'll ever hit those heights again in maybe even 5, 10, even 20 years down the line?
I want to say I'm hopeful, yes, but I don't think so. I would like to think that this Marvel universe kind of almost snuck up on us. That it was slowly kind of built. Like at first it was kind of a Hulk movie, then Iron Man, and then they started tying all these in together. And then the way they tied in all the characters, like all these huge main characters that had whole movies devoted to them, in just like small little snippets in Infinity War, and I thought they did an excellent job at that. And then to have like a villain like Thanos come in and essentially eliminate half the universe. I don't know how you get a bigger villain than him, and I mean maybe I'm a little ignorant to the whole Marvel universe, but I don't know how you get a bigger villain than him, and how you top like how well these characters have been crafted, and then let's say let's just put a blanket on like half of them are gone. I don't know how you can repeat that. In my mind, it would take like another 20 years probably.
That's a good summation. I have a tendency to agree with you. It is going to be hard for the Marvel Cinematic Universe to repeat itself to the point where there's going to be that cataclysmic event that bonds and ties and connects all these superheroes together, has us invested in it 100%, and has us committed to actually watch one singular event, such as what's going on with Avengers Endgame this weekend. So you're right. There's a lot to live up to, but hey, it's going to be fun watching over the next few years. Over the next few years, Marvel getting that shot and chance to try to go ahead and repeat what's going on this weekend with Avengers Endgame.
Right. I'd love for them to repeat something like this again. I mean, also it's the fact that it's 3 hours. Like, so I don't know your opinion on that, but I love the fact that it's 3 hours.
I mean, Lord of the Rings was one of the first things that I got to. I never was involved with the books, but I sat down for Lord of the Rings, and that is a very long movie. In fact, all three of them, and I love the extended versions because it sharpens that narrative even more. So I have no problems with 3 hours. Josh and I, for 2017, our best movie of the year was Blade Runner 2049, which in itself was a very long movie, closing in on the 3 hour mark. So if it tells a great narrative and keeps you entrenched and entranced in the movie, I have no problem with a 3 hour movie. And I don't think anybody else should. But if you're like, let's say, a casual fan or somebody that's not really into the Marvel Cinematic Universe and actually has to go to it or whatnot and be dragged into it, there may be those issues where the 3 hours is going to be an issue. But for us as Marvel fans, I don't see a problem with it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I saw a tweet on Twitter where someone was complaining about it being 3 hours, and someone responded, "Make it 4 hours, you cowards." I just thought that was so funny.
They might have enough deleted footage for that, but you never know. We'll have to wait for the Blu-ray to come out to find out.
Yeah, I'd love to see the extended version of this movie.
Once again, I'm on with Sam Petralia. He is the man behind Bullhorn. You got to check out that awesome app today on the Google Play Store and also the App Store as well for Apple. It's an awesome podcast app, which you can not only listen to our show, but a gazillion other podcasts out there as far as it's concerned. Have it all neatly tied up into one very tight spot that's easy to navigate through, that is really enjoyable and very, very convenient to use. It is the Bullhorn app. And I'll tell you what, Sam, one last thing we got to talk about before you head on out, and that is Game of Thrones, man. Episode 3 is coming out this weekend. I mean, this is just like pop culture overload with Game of Thrones and also Avengers Endgame coming out. And that could be one of the reasons why Avengers Endgame might not hit a records, because everybody's so tuned into the Game of Thrones. But I want to ask you, we're well into the season now, and there's a lot of stuff going on. Your thoughts on Game of Thrones? I have some thoughts as well with the Night King and as far as what may happen ultimately. But your thoughts so far as getting into and preparing for that cataclysmic battle that's coming very soon.
Right. So I want to take a break and say, first of all, thank you for the Bullhorn shout out again. And two, I'm like absolutely honored that you're interviewing me before Endgame and before the Battle of Winterfell. Like that, this is just way too much content, way too many characters for one man. Though, too big of a burden. But I will give you my thoughts. Absolutely. Um, so I would like to lead off. Let's talk about what characters we think will die next episode.
That was
You
one
want
of
to
my
start there?
questions. I was going to say, let's just start with two. Just I mean the the prospectus and everybody out there thinks anyone from one to the entire cast could be dead outside of Cersei. People believe
Right.
when it comes to the whole thing. But I'm going to give you just two. Give me two names out there that you think will die is a definite as far as this
Definite?
upcoming
Okay, yeah.
battle.
I would say there's like probably like 4 or 5 that are absolutely safe, and then maybe another 7 that are in danger potentially. But then I think for sure 2 dead ones. I don't think there's any way Grey Worm makes it out, and I don't think. And with last episode with Brianna Tarth getting knighted, like her character arc is complete. It's time. We're gonna get our hearts broken.
Yeah, that one I agree with you 100% on because yes, as soon as she got that night, it's like, okay, yeah, that's your death certificate right there in a
Right.
nutshell.
And then Jorah getting Heartsbane as well as that, and then that little scene when Podrick's singing the song, and he's kind of outside the gate, and he's like preparing the front line, and he's on his horse. Like the first time I watched it, I gotta admit, I was kind of like, okay, this is kind of corny, and like the second time I watched it, I was like, all right, this is just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Like so many people are gonna die next episode. It's so much hype. I can't wait.
Well, do you think they're going to kill them off? Because episode 3, I think, is more still of a preparing for it. I think isn't the episode 4 going to be the one where there's going to be the cataclysmic battle?
I thought it was episode 3, but you could be right. With the way the second episode ended, I mean, it looked like they were like there wasn't a mile in between the army of the dead and Winterfell.
That's true, and they were closing in on it. It seemed to me, I can't tell you about the trailer because the trailer kind of actually gives me that impetus to thinking that it might be.
Oh, okay.
They might be another episode away. I thought episode 4 was because I know there is going to be an episode according to what has been stated that is exclusively devoted to the entire battle. So
Wow.
it may start in episode 3, and that's a good that's a good some good thoughts from you there. Is that it may actually start in episode 3, and by episode 4, you will see the pretty much the whole shebang just flying all over the place, dragons all over the place, breathing fire on everything. The White Walkers turning maybe other people into zombies, and those thoughts of what could be happening with what's going on. And it's just such a tremendous thing just to be seeing here with Game of Thrones. I want to ask you, with with the events that's taking place in the Game of Thrones, and if the war ends and there are some who survive, who ultimately ends up sitting upon the Iron Throne? Or maybe will it be the Night King?
Hang on. Someone just called me on my laptop, but I think it's Jon Snow personally. I think too many things point to Jon Snow. Maybe Daenerys. I don't buy the theory that George R.R. Martin's really trying to put the Night King on the throne. But the one problem I do have with the show version is I don't know. I mean, we don't know this in the books either. I want to know the Night King's true intentions. Like to me, him just being like representing death and bringing death upon everyone. I need more. I need more. I want to see whether it's a Bran flashback or something. I want to know. So we know that he was created by the Children of the Forest. With that, like it looked like dragon glass they shoved into his heart. And that eventually the Children of the Forest and the First Men, they combined forces and they like defeated the Night King. But I want to know his like whole backstory. Like we've seen him like take Craster's kids, turn them into White Walkers. He's kind of built this little White Walker army and this army of the dead. But I like need to know more. I want to know who he is, whether or not I know there's theories out there that say he's actually a Stark, like an old, like an distant, or excuse me, like a far ancestor of the Stark and actually related to Jon Snow and Bran, Sansa and Arya. But I just want to know, because I'm not buying if it's just that he is death and that's it, and he's just like this quiet guy that doesn't say anything and he's just bringing this huge army. I'll be a little disappointed if I'm honest.
What do you think is going to go on with Cersei? Because yes, at this point in time, it looks like she's betrayed everyone else out there by not sending her troops over. But in the end, do you think she might do the noble thing, or do you think that will cost her in some form or fashion so that she will not be sitting and she will not end up sitting upon the Iron Throne?
I think there's zero chance she ends up sitting on the Iron Throne. I don't believe she'll do the noble thing. She will fight to the teeth to maintain her position in King's Landing and as some sort of queen of some parts of Westeros. But yeah, I see Jaime's character arc and his like whole kind of redemption story leading back to Cersei. Especially with the moment that Jaime just had with Bran, and whether or not that Jaime eventually kills Cersei, which I kind of think will happen. It kind of makes sense with the parallels between Cersei being the Mad Queen and then Jaime killing the Mad King. So does he kill the Mad Queen as well and the Mad King? I think that's a cool story and that's a cool redemption arc.
I think it is too, if it comes to pass. Mm-hmm. And I just think it's going to end up being an awesome season of Game of Thrones. I asked you this on Avengers Endgame, but as you sit down to watch the final episodes of Game of Thrones, has it been everything that you've been hoping for? And what do you think will end up, as far as finally happening when all the dust is settled when it comes to the Game of Thrones? Before the prequels, mind you, they change, right. Rewrite all the rules.
I would say, like, I overall, I've been really, really impressed with Game of Thrones. I like on kind of like a whole macro level, like HBO's success with Game of Thrones and the fandom over Game of Thrones has inspired, shows like companies like Amazon to like, what was it, like $1 billion? They bought like the Lord of the Rings, right? They're putting all this money into production. There's just all these rival shows, and it's really like the golden age of content in my mind. And so I welcome it. Like it's a bummer that Game of Thrones ending, but I think it's really like a generational kind of show, like an I Love Lucy or like a Friends, but it rivals that in its kind of scope because it's like global, it's worldwide, it's fantasy, but it's political, it's drama and everything. It's really, really cool.
It's something people are going to talk about for years to come. And you're right. It is one of those generational TV shows that only comes once, pretty much in some person's lifetime. Similar to what you talked about with I Love Lucy and Friends. It's that show that will live on many years after it's done. And like you, I'm just looking forward to just a tremendous ending from, whatever they're going to do and however it's going to end up, and whoever's going to be sitting upon the Iron Throne. It's just going to be very cool to watch when we all sit down to watch the final episodes of the Game of Thrones.
Absolutely.
And one last thing before we head on out, I got to ask you once again, why Bullhorn? The app is out there, the future for it, and some of the things that you hope everybody comes to learn about your awesome Bullhorn app.
Yeah. Well, thank you again for the shout out. So what I would say is it's pretty, it's free, and it lets you listen to podcasts data free.
There you go. That's a great combination right there for you. Once again, it is Sam Petralia. He's the man behind Bullhorn, the Bullhorn podcast app. If you're just like me, if you're like me and you listen to a lot of podcasts, even one podcast, doesn't matter. Or if you just love to learn more about the podcast world and check out some awesome podcasts from around the globe, check out the Bullhorn app today. It's available again in the app stores on both your iPhone and Android phones. Or check out all the information you want on bullhorn.fm. Sam, it's just been a great pleasure to talk to you and speak to you about everything pop culture and, of course, everything about Bullhorn. I hope we can have more conversations in the future, and anything you need from us here at the Pop Culture Cosmos, we are truly glad to help you in any way possible.
Thanks, Gerald. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you having me on and your kind words about Bullhorn.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And you know what? After our conversation, I think I'm going to check out more on my Bullhorn app.